How to remember words. 1. Mastering the art of remembering words. Learning to remember words, whether it's for a new language, enhancing your vocabulary, or simply mastering the terminology in your field, can often seem like an overwhelming challenge. Words are everywhere, and their meanings can sometimes feel like a puzzle. But the good news is, with the right techniques and a bit of practice, remembering words can be an enjoyable and rewarding process. You can train your brain to retain words in a way that feel natural and intuitive. In this chapter, we'll explore some of the most effective and friendly ways to help you remember words in a meaningful, memorable, and enjoyable way. 2. Understanding how memory works. Before we dive into strategies, let's first understand how memory works. The brain is an incredible organ, but it's not perfect. It can only hold on to so much information at once, and some of that information might fade away if not actively reinforced. When you first encounter a word, it's stored in your short-term memory. If you don't actively review or connect it to something meaningful, it might slip away without you even realizing it. However, when you make a conscious effort to connect the word to something familiar or relevant in your life, the word has a much better chance of making its way into long-term memory. Think of your brain as a garden. Words are like seeds that need care and attention in order to grow. By nurturing them with repetition, association, and engagement, they'll eventually blossom into something that's easy to recall. 2.1 The Power of Meaningful Associations. One of the most effective ways to remember a word is by associating it with something meaningful to you. The more relevant or personal the connection, the better your brain will be at recalling the word later. This is where creativity and imagination come into play. 2.2 Visual imagery. See the word in your mind. The brain is great at remembering pictures. When you're learning a new word, try to create a vivid mental image of what the word represents. The more detailed and colorful the image, the easier it will be to recall. For example, let's say you're learning the word serene, which means calm or peaceful. Instead of simply repeating the definition, close your eyes and imagine yourself sitting by a quiet lake at sunrise with soft, cool air surrounding you. The word serene will now be tied to this peaceful image, and your brain will more easily remember it when you need to use it later. If you're learning a word like carnivore, instead of just memorizing the meaning, an animal that eats meat, imagine a lion with a sleek mane stalking its prey in the wild. The more you personalize the imagery, the stronger the association becomes. 2.3 Craft a story around the word. Humans are storytelling creatures. We understand and remember information better when it's wrapped in a story. So, why not create your own little tale for each new word you learn? Let's take the word elaborate, which means to go into great detail. Instead of just memorizing the definition, you could imagine a character who loves to tell stories. This character starts off with a simple story, but as they speak, they begin to elaborate more and more, adding intricate details and weaving a complicated web of narrative. The story makes the word elaborate stick in your mind because the action of elaborating is visually and mentally more engaging than the abstract definition. 2.4 Link the word to something you already know. Another fantastic way to reinforce a word's meaning is by linking it to something you already understand. When you connect the new word to something familiar, it becomes much easier to remember. For instance, If you're learning the word melancholy, a deep sadness or sorrow, you might think about a sad scene in a movie you've seen or a time in your life when you felt particularly down. The word becomes more meaningful because it's tied to your personal experiences. Another example is the word gregarious, which means sociable or outgoing. If you know someone who loves to be around people, let's say a friend who is always the life of the party, you could mentally associate the word gregarious with that person. By linking the word to a face or a personality, you make it easier to recall. 3. Active engagement with the word. Once you've created those initial connections, it's time to actively engage with the word. Passive repetition, saying a word over and over helps, but actively using the word in different contexts will make it more memorable and integrated into your daily life. 3.1. Use the word in a sentence. One of the best ways to reinforce a new word is by using it in context. Don't just memorize it in isolation. Place it into sentences that are meaningful to you. For example, if you're learning the word meticulous, which means paying attention to detail, you could write sentences like, "She's so meticulous about her work that she checks every single detail twice." He was meticulous when organizing the books in his library, making sure they were sorted by genre, author, and title. By using the word in different sentences and settings, you're showing your brain how the word can be used in the real world, which helps cement its meaning in your mind. 3.2. Teach someone else. If you want to make sure you really understand a word and can remember it long term, teach it to someone else. This is because teaching forces you to articulate the meaning in your own words, which strengthens your understanding and recall. Find a friend or family member and explain the word, its meaning, and how it's used. You could even use a few example sentences you created yourself. When you teach, you not only reinforce the word for yourself, but also deepen your understanding. Beyond spaced repetition, revisit the word. We've all heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. But the truth is, how you practice matters. Spaced repetition is an incredibly effective memory technique, where you review information at increasing intervals over time. It helps your brain shift the word from short-term memory to long-term memory. Start by reviewing the word shortly after you first learn it, within an hour, perhaps. Then review it the next day, a few days later, and then a week later. Gradually spacing out your reviews ensures that the word sticks in your memory for the long haul. 4. Understanding word origins. Etymology. One of the most fun and fascinating ways to learn new words is by exploring their origins. Many English words come from Latin, Greek, or other languages, and understanding the roots of a word can often give you a huge clue as to its meaning. For instance, the word benevolent comes from the Latin ben, meaning good, and volens, meaning wishing. So, benevolent means wishing good for others. This knowledge can make the word more memorable because it feels like you've uncovered a secret about how the word works. Another example is the word aquatic, which comes from the Latin word aqua, meaning water. So, anything aquatic is related to water. The more you familiarize yourself with common roots, prefixes, and suffixes, the more words you'll be able to decode on your own. 5. Mnemonic devices, making words stick. Mnemonics are memory tricks that help make words more memorable by connecting them to something else that's easier to remember. Here are a few fun mnemonic devices you can use. 5.1. Acronyms and acrostics. Acronyms are great for remembering groups of words, while acrostics are helpful for remembering the order of words or steps. For example, if you're learning the word PQRST, which stands for a set of steps in the clinical examination of patients, you could create a silly acrostic to help you remember. Please quickly request some tea. For individual words, you can create acronyms or acrostics that capture the essence of the word. If you're trying to remember benefactor, a person who gives money or other help to a person or cause, you could break it down into bringing everyone new, extraordinary financial aid, connecting to other recipients. 5.2. The method of loci. The method of loci is a technique where you visualize placing words in specific locations within a familiar setting, such as your home. You then mentally walk through this setting and retrieve the words based on where you placed them. For example, you could imagine the word sophisticated on your front door and the word courageous in the living room. This method is effective because it taps into the spatial memory, which is easier for our brains to recall. 6. Emotional connections. Emotion plays a crucial role in memory. The more emotionally charged the experience, the more likely you are to remember it. When learning a word, try to connect it to an emotional experience. For example, if you're learning the word ecstatic, imagine a moment when you felt pure joy, maybe when you received exciting news or achieved a long-awaited goal. By tying that word to a positive emotional experience, you make it far easier to recall when you need it. 7. Reinforce with multiple senses. The more senses you engage when learning a word, the stronger the memory will be. So don't just read the word, write it, say it out loud, and even listen to it if you can. The more sensory input you have, the more neural pathways you'll create to make that word stick. Try saying the word, writing it down, and imagining it in vivid colors or textures. These multi-sensory techniques help make the word come to life in your mind. Conclusion: keep practicing, keep connecting. Mastering the art of remembering words is not about working harder. It's about working smarter and engaging with words in a meaningful way. By using imagery, stories, emotional connections, and active engagement, you can build stronger associations that make words easier to recall. And remember, it takes time and practice. Just like building a muscle, the more you use these techniques, the better your memory will become. So take a deep breath, get creative, and enjoy the process of making words truly stick in your mind.